Hello, this is Tasty Eats by Tess. Today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different because we had such a huge snowfall last night. It's so beautiful and magical out. Let's just go out and take a walk and see what it's like out there. But in the meantime, I have on the go here a couple of chicken breasts with the bone in. We'll be making a chicken pot pie today. Wow. Way over the boots. Way over the boots. And there, that's my son's car. It's totally buried there. And over here we have our neighbor. This is so magical. Look at that. It's just so pretty. And here it is, up to my knees, basically. So for our chicken pot pie, we'll go ahead and add 2 cups of chicken broth. You can also do this with water since you have the chicken bones attached to your chicken breast and cook that a little longer, but I prefer to go with the chicken broth. We may need to add more, and we likely will, or we can mix it 50-50 with water. So to that same pan, we can just go ahead and add some oil. It's the same pan that we did our chicken in earlier. So we just add a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of olive oil, or you can use canola oil. Whichever you choose to use would be fine. So I've gone ahead and chopped up a few of the onions here. And I'll just finish up with these. Keeping our fingers back. Perfect. Great, so that's just 1 onion here. Good. And I'm going to be adding some carrots, some cubed carrots. So it's a medium-sized carrot, so I put it into quarter length. And then chop it along just like that. Just so you have some, I'd say fairly small carrot cubes. There we go. Same with this one, into quarters. And along we go. I have here, I would say all in all it would be about a stalk of celery. It's a small stalk of celery that we have here, including the greens from the center core of the celery. I think I'll go ahead and I'll half this larger piece of celery here, just like that. I like in the chicken pot pie the flavor that celery gives it. So I usually add celery to mine. You can use any vegetables that you like to use. And I have a cup of chopped up green beans here and a cup of corn as well. I'll just go ahead and give this a little bit of a stir here, so it gets mixed up in there. And I'm going to turn this down now. We don't need it quite so high. We don't need the onions to really brown that much. So after after I had fried or browned the chicken, when I added the stock, because the pan had caramelized and the chicken had also caramelized, the stock became a deeper color. And we're just going to add that into our pot here. And it's just under 4 cups because I ended up using the 4-cup measure to add an extra 2 cups. So after it boiled a little while, it went down a little bit in volume. So it's just under 2 cups. So if you're cooking that, when I put the chicken broth inside with the chicken, it cooked for about, I would say, half an hour approximately. So now that these are already browned, we can go ahead and we can add that in here. We can add all of our ingredients at this point. And we're just going to cook that for very little time, just until it has softened. So we'll put this back here. Go ahead and add everything in except for the chicken. And as this is cooking, the volume will go down even more, and it will intensify the flavors as well. I do suggest, wherever possible though, that you use chicken broth or at least chicken cubes. So the green beans going in and the corn. The carrots are in, as well as the onion. And I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of soy sauce. This is just going to give it a deeper, darker, richer color in the end. I went ahead and made a brown thickening sauce for our chicken pot pie and added back the chicken. So it's getting nice and thick. It's still very hot. I'm just going to put it into our baking dish that we'll be using here and let that cool down some. So maybe I'll scoop some of that in first, and then we can pour the remainder. Great. Oh, it smells so good. I've already gone ahead and tasted this. You're going to really like it. So the thickening agent is just 4 tablespoons of flour that I browned first. Make sure it's a nice deep dark golden color without burning it. And then go ahead and add your 4 tablespoons of butter to that. Perfect. Great. And then you just add it back to the pot once it's all mixed together, the butter and the flour, after it's browned. So we'll leave this to cool. And we'll get started on our pastry for the top of this. Very simple butter and flour recipe. So it's just 1.25 cups of flour. And we have 10 tablespoons here. Let me just get 10 tablespoons of butter. This is non-salted butter. And it's in little tiny cubes here, but it all went together. That's okay. We'll just break it up with our fingers as we go along. And because that's non-salted butter, we're just going to add, I'm using pink Himalayan salt here. We want to salt it so that we have the nice flavor in the end. We'll just mix this through with our hands. And you want to keep your dough cold, or when you're starting to roll out your dough, make sure that you've put it in the fridge for at least a half an hour to harden that butter back up, because using your hands with this is going to warm up the butter. We want the butter nice and cold. right? So that's coming along nice. And you want about pea-sized little pieces of butter inside of your dough. There we go. Almost there. I like the flavor of an all butter pastry dough in comparison to a lard. Gives it a much better flavor. So we're going to need about, it's anywhere between 2 to 4 tablespoons of ice water. So we'll just mix that in and we'll see how much we need. We do that a little at a time until we see this coming together. We're not quite there yet. So this will be more along the lines of 4 tablespoons. And you want it to end up nice and flaky. You don't want to work the dough too much because the more gluten that you're working into the dough, the tougher your pastry is going to become. So this is looking like it's coming along nice. Should be enough here. Yes. So we're just going to take this out onto the surface here and work it through. Just like that. Perfect. This is just right. You don't want to add anything more to this. And again, you don't want to overwork it even here. So I'm just going to put this into the shape of a disc. Just like that. And we're going to cover this with plastic wrap and just put it in the fridge for our half an hour approximately. We're ready to go ahead and make our pastry for the top of our chicken pot pie. So I just took it out of the fridge. It was in there approximately a half an hour. And I went ahead and floured the surface here. I just want to flour the dough as well. And I like to flour the rolling pin a tiny bit so it just doesn't stick to the rolling pin as I'm spreading this out. Takes a while to get this started because it was in the fridge to get nice and cold. Great, let's go along here now. For chicken pot pie, you also want your dough to be a little thicker than you would make it for an apple pie. So it's coming along nice here. And I have the oven on 400 to heat up. So it should be almost ready as well. There we go. Nice. You can make a smaller chicken pot pie. Say you want to serve perhaps 3 or 4. You can half this recipe and just put it, let's say, in a pie plate, a large pie plate or a deep dish pie plate. That will work as well. We're almost there. Just get it a little wider here. Working it all the way around. Like I was saying, I prefer it to be extra cold and give it that time to roll out. Perfect. So we have the length that we're looking for here. Great. Okay, so let's try and get this approximately to what we're looking for our pan here. We'll go a little bit longer on the end here. Great. And we're just going to be tucking this in and under. Show you how this goes. Great, so that's the size I'm looking for there. Just push this over a tiny bit. And if you have any little ends here that are not fully filled in, you can just go ahead and add it. That's it. We'll tuck that under and down inside your pan, like that. Perfect. I find the more the dough that you have along the edges, the better it's going to turn out. As I was saying, more dough, the better it is. Perfect. Great. So we just push that down, get any air out of it. Great. And this is nice and rustic. I'm just going to add a few little cuts in here. Just to make it all the more pretty. Just like that. Let the steam escape as well as it's cooking. Okay, just check around here. Looks good. Lovely. And once this comes out, we'll take a look. You'll want to let this cool down a bit after you've taken it out of the oven. I'd say give it at least 15 to 20 minutes to do that. And we'll just go ahead here. I guess I'll take it from this side here. Oh, lovely. Go ahead and grab some of that. Take a little extra here of the juices. Beautiful. If you want, scoop a little of that over the top. Gorgeous. And I like to serve that with a very plain salad. So it's just going to be a little lettuce here along the side, just like that. A few green onions over the top. And some for your chicken pot pie, because why not? Just gives it all the more flavor. Little bit of red pepper. There we go. Beautiful. And as you all know, I like my balsamic glaze, so we'll put a little of that over the top. Just over the top of this lettuce. There we go. Beautiful. You can add a little olive oil to that as well. Great. That's perfect. Right, let's give that a try. Sorry about this. I'll just get myself a little spoon here and give that a try. Oh, definitely. Try the crust. Oh, it's so flaky. Oh, it's great. Yes. For any type of a pie, savory or sweet, that recipe is dead on. It's beautiful. Goes so well with a very plain salad. The other thing I'd like to mention is when you're cooking anything with chicken breast, be very careful and mindful of overcooking it, because in this case, it's tender, juicy. It's just where you want it to be. The other tip that I gave you in this is the browning, to make sure that your sauce is not a white looking sauce, that it has more of a golden gravy color. Just make sure to brown your flour first, add your butter, and you have it. Add it back to the pot. You definitely will please your guests with this, or your family, whichever you choose. Have a great day. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye now.